Ben Twomey is Chief Exec of Generation Rent, and Richard Blanco, Portfolio Landlord and the London representative of the National Residential Landlords Association. So just to clarify for our viewers, first of all, guys, Section 21 is a no-fault eviction. It's when a landlord doesn't need to give a reason. Landlords can do this at the end of a fixed-term tenancy agreement or during a tenancy with no fixed end date, usually 2 months' notice. So that's to clarify where we are. Your thoughts, Ben?
Well, you've summed it up perfectly. There's a Section 21 type of eviction right now, which means that for no reason at all, a tenant can be kicked out and given just 2 months to find a new home. It's a leading cause of homelessness. It's something the previous government promised to end 5 years ago. We've had broken promises since then, but the Labour government has promised to take this forward, and they've introduced this new bill, so a new law that's coming through, and they would end that Section 21 as soon as this law passes. They're hoping by next summer, which will be a huge relief to 12 million renters across England who live in constant insecurity because of these types of evictions.
Richard?
Yes, I mean, we don't oppose the abolition of Section 21, actually, but one of the big problems is court reform. That what this will mean is that landlords will have to evict tenants if they need to, and obviously that's usually as a last resort. On a Section 8, that means going to court. It takes an average of 7 months at the moment. We expect the courts to be absolutely clogged up unless the government does something to reform them. So we're very worried about what's going to happen with this. Also, the bill does nothing to improve the supply of rental properties. There's a big shortage at the moment, currently 17 applicants per property, and that's what's been pushing rents up and means that poor quality properties still get let.
Ben?
Well, to be clear, what's pushing rents up is landlords have the decision to put their finger in the air and choose what to set the rent as. We need the government to act more strongly to slam the brakes on soaring rents. Yes, we need more homes. We need more homes that are affordable and where people want to live. But right now, people need the breathing space to be able to not find themselves evicted through the back door via a rent rise, because that will still happen if they don't get a grip of this.
Landlords don't just put rents up willy-nilly. I mean, rents have been going up partly because of increases in mortgage costs. We don't agree with rent control. We think that would be a disaster, and most economists disagree with that as well. The way to bring rents down is to encourage landlords to invest in the private rented sector, to bring more properties on board. We really want to be part of the government's growth agenda. We want them to remove punitive taxation against landlords and encourage landlords to actually bring more properties into the sector.
Well, landlord costs go up, landlord costs go down. Regardless of what happens, rents go up for the tenants. That seems to be what happens. So I don't believe that the rising costs for mortgages, most landlords' properties don't have a mortgage on them. I don't believe that's the reason that rents are rising. The reason is it's completely unregulated. Take the energy price cap. Most people know about that. Energy is essential to us to keep our homes warm. They limit the amount in which that can rise each year. They're talking about a cap on water bills as well. Our homes are the foundations of our lives. We really need them to make sure that people aren't finding themselves forced into poverty, forced into debt, forced into homelessness, just because it's completely unrestricted what a landlord can do.
We need more social housing as well, and that would certainly help families on low incomes. You know, don't underestimate the impact that mortgage costs have had on people. Several of my mortgages have quadrupled, and you know, some of my mortgages now the rents don't even cover the mortgages. And yes, I've increased rents by just £100 for most of my tenants. So a lot of landlords really are struggling at the moment.
Do you accept that?
Well, I don't accept the idea that mortgages are causing the problems for all landlords. It's the shortage of homes which has enabled landlords to raise the rent by as much as they want to, because they know people will be queuing around the block to pay, as Richard has said. The issue with that, in terms of bidding wars, that's something that's being addressed in the bill, so you can't encourage tenants now just because they've reached the front of a very long queue that you can then up the price and encourage them to compete against each other, pitting tenant against tenant. That's a good thing. But within your own home, within the rent rises, there needs to be some sort of protection for tenants. It's completely crazy that there's no limit at the moment, that landlords can just rise the rent as much as they want to, because you might be a good landlord, Richard, you might raise the rent by a small amount or not at all. At the moment, we're at the mercy of luck, whether that happens to us or not. And it's our homes that we're talking about. We're not talking about the luck of whether or not we can, you know, buy chocolates or crisps at the supermarket. We're talking about our homes, an absolute fundamental to our lives.
Should landlords have to reasonably accept pets?
Absolutely, yes. And in fact, the law won't change very much because that's really the situation at the moment. What the bill will bring in is a timescale, so the landlord will need to respond to that request within a certain number of days. And, you know, tenants with pets often stay longer. There are lots of positives around having tenants with pets. But, of course, landlords are often a bit worried about the damage that pets might do to the property. So it's good that the bill does allow the landlord to request that the tenant has insurance to cover possible damage. So we think this is positive. Again, we're concerned that there will be so few properties available that those tenants with pets will kind of be at the end of the queue and other tenants will get preferential treatment.
Yeah. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, this is some light at the end of the tunnel for pet owners across England, because there will be that right to request a pet. We're hoping that there'll be clear reasons set out for why a landlord would be able to refuse. We think that you should have the full enjoyment of your own home when you live there, and one of the darker consequences of the limit to people having pets is when people move out with a pet that they love. I'm thinking about Yvonne, a retired lady who's living with a disability, who spoke to us recently, and her cat Martin is who she lives with. She was being evicted through Section 21 and couldn't find anywhere that would take her and her cat. She was choosing between keeping her cat, her only joy, as she put it, or finding herself facing homelessness because she just couldn't find a property to move into. So those are the kind of terrifying situations people are dealing with. And this law, if it's written correctly, will hopefully give some hope to people.
If we sorted out the problem of supply, if we had slightly too many rental properties, then rents would stabilise and there would be more options there for tenants with pets. Poor quality properties wouldn't get rented because tenants would have more choice. That's what I'd like to see, the problem around supply solved.
Okay.
If I can add on that point, the supply side of things, we need more homes, absolutely. We don't need more landlords. Most tenants want to buy their own home eventually. It would be great if the rents weren't so high that we couldn't afford that. And so those tenants that need it need to access social housing so that we have a limit on that rent that we're going to pay.
Final word to you?
Yes, I mean, affordability is an issue, but of course there's going to be a challenge around tenants actually being able to get mortgages to buy those homes. So we do need a private rented sector. It's nearly 20% of properties at the moment, and we need that to be thriving and dynamic and fit for purpose.
OK, good to talk to you both. Thank you very much indeed for your expertise. Thank you.